Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. Bungie just had their third and final reveal stream showing us what we can expect in the April update coming April 12th. In this stream they talked at length about the Crucible, weapon balances, and some changes to the Warlock subclasses. Now, because they had to go over so much information, unfortunately, they didn't give us very many specifics in regards to some of the numbers involved in these changes, but we're luckily going to learn a lot more specifics about the weapon changes tomorrow during the This Week in Bungie blog, and we're going to get a lot more specific information about the numbers involved with the Warlock subclass changes when the patch notes drop on the 12th. But until then, I've prepared a list of 7 highlights from the stream. First up is the changes to the way you revive your teammates in the Crucible. They've actually made it a little bit slower to revive, and you need to get a little bit closer to your teammate. You also spawn with a slightly weaker overshield. In addition to that, they've also added 2 seconds to the revive timer during the Trials of Osiris, moving it from 5 seconds to 7, and then doubling that during the second revive. It looks like they're hoping to strike a bit of a balance when it comes to risk versus reward in regards to reviving your teammates. In all honesty, I'm perfectly okay with this change. It affects both sides equally, and it might force your teammates to be a bit more careful during combat. Now, the only tactical change you're going to notice is if you have an exotic that grants you a faster revive time, your teammates are no longer going to be able to do a sprint revive. As of right now, if you hold the revive button while sprinting past a dead teammate with one of those exotics on, you will revive them without having to stop. This will no longer be possible after the update. Number 2 is yet another change to Crucible ammo. During the last Crucible update, they made it so you don't spawn with special ammo at the start of the match. This was intended to give both teams an equal footing and to make sure that one team can't dominate the whole match. Now, this was circumvented by a lot of people by equipping sidearms at the beginning of the match or equipping the Icebreaker or Invective, which recharge their own ammo. So a large number of players would either use these weapons in combat, or they would spawn in with them, regen some ammo, and switch to the preferred weapon of their choice while they're down. So they've actually returned to having you spawn with special ammo at the start of the match just like before, except special ammo crates will not spawn until 3 minutes into the match. This means that there will generally be less special ammo during that match. This will cause you to be a bit more selective with your special ammo usage and be more reliant on your primary, which is what Bungie has intended for the Crucible. This, in addition to some of the weapon changes that we'll go over in the next video, will, I think, make the Crucible a much more balanced and enjoyable experience all around. In addition to special ammo, they are also changing the way heavy ammo behaves in the Crucible as well. The only thing they changed with heavy ammo is that it will spawn only once per match. So it will drop at the same 5-minute mark we're familiar with, and then that's it. I'm perfectly fine with this, but the only thing that I would change is moving it to maybe the 7-minute mark. Around 5 minutes is usually when most people have their supers and are ready to use it. Now, I know this often results in a lot of really awesome super multi-kills, but I feel like at the 7-minute mark it would feel a lot more tactical, especially if we want to turn the tide of battle. Plus, if you're a really good player, you might be at your second super already by this point. Number 3 is the changes to the Crucible reward system. The big highlight is that they're significantly increasing the frequency of legendary drops. This, combined with that increase in reputation gain, is going to make the Crucible a lot more viable for some genuine progress. I've always thought that the Crucible reward system has been pretty lackluster, especially since they removed mark rewards from each battle. And this should remedy that quite a bit. I know I'll be spending a lot more time in the Crucible. In addition to standard rewards, Lord Shaxx will now give you an item at up to 335 light for completing his weekly bounties. The same goes for the rank 5 Iron Banner reward package. And we also learned that the Trials of Osiris bounties can drop at up to 330 light. This is all excellent news, as it's now very much possible to hit maximum light using just the Crucible. If that's not a quality of life improvement, I don't know what is. Number 4 is going to be weapon balances. Now, like I mentioned, we're not going to get the specific numbers for these changes until tomorrow, so we'll talk more about weapons once we have that information. But one change that I'm very excited about is that the thorn damage over time will wear off a lot faster. And they mentioned that it should be very rare that you actually die from the damage over time. In addition to that, they mentioned that the focused fire perk for the Suros regime will now also increase the weapon's effective range. Now, I personally really enjoy focused fire. If you've seen any of my PvE footage with auto rifles, you might be slightly annoyed at me using it, but I find it to be really effective in PvE, especially now with the increase to effective range and base weapon damage. but we'll go deeper into that and other weapon balances in the next video. Now the next 3 points are going to be touching on the changes to the Warlock subclass. Number 5 is changes to the Sunsinger. First up is the change to Radiance. If you are rocking Fireborn, the length of your Radiance will be significantly shorter. This should make other choices like, say, Song of Flame, which I find to be vastly superior already, a lot more attractive. In addition to that, Flame Shield will be a little bit less effective. Now, they did talk about Firebolt grenades, but they did mention that they were not able to address the issue quite yet. It does seem to be a problem that's going to require a lot more time to fix. I personally would reduce the length of the damage over time, but they did mention that it goes against the vision that they have for Sunsinger, so it definitely seems to be a much more complex problem than we realize. So hopefully they'll take another look at the Firebolt grenade after this update, but I wouldn't wait for a fix anytime soon. Number 6 is going to be the changes to the Stormcaller. The big changes here are in reference to the Stormtrance Super, which now will use more super energy when firing. I think this is far better than changing the overall duration, as it would go against the fiction of the Stormcaller. In addition to that, landfall will be a lot less severe. It can no longer destroy Titan bubbles and will not blind everyone in sight. Number 7 is the changes to the Voidwalker. Now luckily in this case they simply buffed a few things to make it a lot more viable in combat, and it all seems to focus on energy drain. Lifesteal will happen instantly, and your grenades will have an even faster cooldown. Now they did mention there are going to be some other ways to cool down your abilities even faster, but they didn't get into detail. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait for those patch notes. Now as I mentioned before, these are very generic descriptions of the changes to the Warlock. We are going to be getting the patch notes on the 12th, the same day as the update, so we'll talk about the Warlock more in a future video. So as of the recording of this video, we now know everything that we're going to be getting in the April update. It is a bit of a shame that we're not getting any new exotic weapons, and I don't really want to count the PlayStation exclusive Zen Meteor simply for the reason that it is PlayStation exclusive. But who knows, we still have 7 days until the update, so Bungie might still have a few tricks up their sleeves. I know the grind for exotics is one of my favorite parts of Destiny, so it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. So now that we have all of the information, what do you think of the April update? Leave them in the comments below. Drop a like if you can, and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time.